Alright everyone, welcome back. So in the last episode we killed Motor, got the dragon's tears, and we made our artisan table. This is important because it unlocked a whole bunch of new crafting stations. Now, if you have a look at my house real quick, it's starting to get pretty full. And I could start stacking stuff over here, but I don't want to feel cramped. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually extend this back porch area into a nice patio, and we're gonna use that for our new crafting stations. And instead of it just being like the smelters and the kiln where it's just kind of laid out on the ground, we're gonna actually make a nice little gazebo. Maybe not a gazebo, maybe even a whole workshop. I might be able to move all of my crafting stations over there and then just make the inside of my house nice and decorative. But that's the plan. For now, I'm going to be leveling the ground. I'm going to be farming up wood and stone. I'm going to be farming a lot. So, yeah, I'll see you when I'm done doing all that stuff. Alright, so we actually farmed up a lot of stone and a lot of wood. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually leveling out the ground so I can put in a good foundation. This is actually my first circular building. And the way I went about making it circular is by initially putting down 2 stone foundations side by side, then doing a one-click rotation on the mouse wheel, and then putting 2 of those side by side, clipping into the existing ones. And as it went around, it eventually made a pretty nice circle. After filling it in, I started working on the walls. Now the walls are already 2 blocks wide, so I didn't have to do 2 side by side. I just had to do the 1 and make sure to do the 1 mouse wheel rotation for every segment. And now it looks pretty. Now continuing on, what we're going to do is we're actually going to start working on the second wall, or tier of walls. Now with this, doing any rotation like this, you're going to have some clipping of the wall into the other walls. This is good because it helps it have a smooth aesthetic on the outside, but you want to make sure it does that properly, or eventually your stone walls are just going to be staggered and they're not going to look very good unless that's the design you're going for. Now we go ahead and put in a door, and now we can work on getting the roof for the first floor put in. Now with the stairs here, I wanted them to kind of wind against the wall, and doing that would actually cause a gap between the lower stairs and the upper stairs. So what I actually put in was these 2 1x1 blocks, floor panels, to kind of bridge that gap between the bottom tier stairs and the top tier stairs. And this will be the way I get on my wall to do what I'm going to do next, which is actually using stairs to create the roof. Well, at least this section of the roof. Now, similar to the foundation tiles, it was 2 side by side, a 1-click rotation of the wheel, and then 2 more side by side, all the way around until it eventually closes at the front. Now, closing it at the front actually did present its own challenge. I didn't have anything to support it. The door wasn't tall enough. So I tried with these 2 wall tiles, 2 wooden wall tiles, and they weren't really cutting it. I couldn't clip to it properly. So what I ended up having to do is putting in a stone wall and putting the stairs on top of that. Now once I got rid of the stone wall that I used for that, the stairs stayed, which is very nice. Taking that out for the pure aesthetic of it and then having it collapse would have been terrible. Now what we're trying to figure out here is how we're going to do the second section of the roof and have it be supported. I tried these overhang pieces, it didn't really work. And then I put in some pillars to maybe connect them to it. Now, I'm gonna have to end up completely deconstructing this later because I didn't realize at the time, but the poles were too far away from the first section of roof, so it wouldn't have connected the stairs to it at all. And what you'll be seeing here is basically just the trial and error process of me figuring that out. So basically, nothing I'm trying is working. Nothing is really connecting it to each other. However, putting down wood floor tiles in those spots actually allowed me to put stairs on top of them. Because game physics. Now with those two in place, that gave me an idea of how to proceed forward. What I was actually going to end up doing was putting floor tiles in a circle all the way around the inner rim of that roof, so that I could then place the rest of the stairs for the second tier of roof. I'm not exactly sure why I did these roof tiles. Didn't really need them, but they serve the same purpose as the wooden floors. So I ended up putting those back because I was going to need to keep doing that further. Alright, now we have 4 tiles worth of roof section there. And this is when I realized, yeah, I'm probably going to have to take down these poles and move it a little closer to actually connect the stairs to the pole. I tried this by manually picking a spot on the floor and then building upward. Problem with that was, it stuck through the roof. That's not a good spot. So, take it apart again. We try a different spot, nudging it just a little bit further away from the roof tiles so that when it builds up, it'll come in contact with the roof tiles, but it won't be clipping through the top, which is much better. We want to make this look seamless, as close as we can at least. And speaking of as close as we can at least, as you can see, these stairs are actually overlapping. I don't mind it too much. As you'll see as it goes along, it actually makes a pretty nice design around the roof. So here we go. Now we're actually putting in the floor tiles to end up finishing out the second tier of roof tiles. One of these is not the same. There we go. Now we can finish out the second tier of roof. One of those was still not the same. It was actually causing a problem with me putting down the stairs on the top level. Yeah, so now that we have that overlap building up as we get higher, the design's coming out pretty nicely. Yeah, this definitely took a ton of stone. I tried to cut out a lot of the points where I went back to repair my tools and pick up more supplies. If they interrupted the flow of the video too much, of course. But as I was starting to finish that second tier of roof, I came under attack. Now, I didn't get any drugger, which kind of would have been preferred. I could have gotten me a little bit of extra iron just by accident, but oozes are fine. They weren't very hard to kill. I had the potions of poison resist, so they weren't too much of a problem. Thankfully, nothing got inside my house while my door was wide open, and they didn't attack my crops either. I think because I was standing at the workshop when this thing started, they didn't bother with much. And now we have the struggle for stamina forever. So with those all wrapped up, we were actually able to go back to the roof and finish it out. Woohoo! Now the next part of the plan is actually to put in the floor for the second floor, as you'll see here. Now because the circumference of the second floor area is a little wonky, I couldn't rely on just clipping. See, it started to have a weird bend and the floor would have just not been very symmetrical. So I actually took it apart, and by holding shift in Valheim, you can actually override the clipping mechanic to place blocks wherever you want, even if they clip into other blocks. I think I was saying clipping and snapping kind of interchangeably. When I say clipping earlier in this video, I meant snapping, meaning they snap together. Clipping is actually when a block invades another block. But yeah, following that same method, I completely did the outer section of the flooring. But what I found was I was a little off. The floor ended up a bit uneven. So we had to start again from about halfway, when that slope kind of started to get created. And that's just me checking my work as I go. I don't want to have to break it down and do it all over again. Alright, now the second floor has been started. So now that this is in place, I can actually snap to the second floor tiles I have already down to then close in the second floor. Oh, well, I did the pillars first. So similar to the foundation tiles, the way I did this is I put the first pillar, did one click rotation on the mouse wheel, did the second pillar, and so on and so forth, until eventually I had a nice pillared overlook section to my workshop. Now I'm placing these down so that I could probably use these to snap to for the roof, but I found out that the circle I made with the pillars isn't perfectly circular. Again, when you have to manually put down floor tiles, it's really hard to get a perfect circle. So instead, we built in the second floor. We filled out the second floor a little bit more. And we actually started making a stairway up, just to make things a little bit easier on myself. Now that we have the stairs in place, we can get rid of the old stairway and we can carry on. So I actually took this opportunity to put in the rest of the pillars to help support the second tier. Now with the poles in place and a new staircase built just to make things a little less cumbersome to get up here, right? I trimmed off the opening to the second floor. And now I'm gonna move on to actually extending the iron poles a little higher. To do so, I actually had to break down the stone pillars that were in the same spot and then snap the extended poles to those poles under them. And by doing so, I was able to pull some of that foundational support up into the pillars above. Now with the poles in place, we can actually replace the stone pillars so that we don't mess with our overlook aesthetic anymore. Alright, that part's done. Now, for the roofing. It's a little difficult because you can't really center a roof tile on a pillar. You kind of have to pick a side and just go with it. So we're actually going to get this oddly tapered look to the roof, but it ends up looking pretty decent in the end. It's going to kind of make a swirl because I'm going to put in some trim beams in between each one. That'll make it look a little bit better. Like those little gaps at the end, even though they drive my OCD insane, can be made up for with those beams. Might not see it in this video too much, but you will in the next one.
Alright, so we got a good portion of our roof done. Now, I did start trying to close this in, and then I realized the roofs weren't really going to work. They were going to make this weird texture at the top that I really didn't want. So, we took that down, took another look at it, and I couldn't keep my OCD at bay too long. So I actually did get an idea of how those accent beams were going to go to kind of make the roof look a little bit better. So here's a little taste of that. But we come back to this later. I ended up using core wood logs instead because they had a better aesthetic overall. And now I'm building a ladder up to the top portion because instead of those roof tiles, I actually decided to go with some cross beams. It was a little bit neater of a design and it just looked cool. And with that in place, we're pretty much finished. Other than a little bit of trimming work that I do later on, that's about it. That's my workshop. Alright everybody, I want to say thank you for watching, commenting, liking, anybody who's interacted with the video, anybody who's here for the first time. I really appreciate your views, and I really appreciate that you would actually take the time out of your day to watch my video. So, have a good day, morning, evening, good night, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye now.